The story of Stockton began with gold. In 1849, the California gold rush brought thousands of people to the West. They dreamed of finding riches. Stockton was not where the gold was found, but it was in a very important place. It sat near the San Joaquin River. This river was a natural highway. It connected the goldfields to the San Francisco Bay. Stockton quickly became a busy supply town. Miners needed food, tools, and other goods. Stockton provided these things. Its location made it essential for the booming gold economy, a bustling entry point to the Sierra Nevada foothills where fortunes were sought. The city was officially founded by a German immigrant named Charles Weber. He arrived in California before the gold rush. Weber saw the potential of the land. He acquired a large Mexican land grant. He called his new town Tullaberg at first, but he soon renamed it Stockton. This was to honor Commodore Robert F. Stockton, a United States naval officer. Weber laid out the streets. He encouraged people to settle there. He understood that a city needed more than just a good location. It needed a community and infrastructure to support the rapid influx of hopeful individuals. Early settlers were mostly European Americans, drawn by opportunity. Before Weber, before the gold seekers, this land was home to the Yokuts people. For thousands of years, they had lived along the rivers and in the valleys of this region. They had their own complex societies, their own languages, and their own ways of life. The arrival of new settlers brought immense change. The Yokuts faced displacement from their ancestral lands. Their traditional food sources were disrupted. Their population suffered greatly from disease and conflict. Their story is a vital, though often painful part of Stockton's earliest history, a reminder of the profound transformations wrought by westward expansion and the pursuit of new beginnings by others. Stockton's early economy was not just about gold supplies. The land around the city was fertile. Agriculture soon became very important. Farmers grew wheat, barley, and other crops. The river allowed them to ship their produce easily. This agricultural strength would become a lasting feature of Stockton. Businesses sprang up to support both mining and farming. There were blacksmiths, general stores, and hotels. Everyday life was a mix of hard work and the excitement of a frontier town. People came from many places, all hoping to build a new life in this growing California settlement, laying the groundwork for a diverse future. While European settlers formed the initial core of Stockton's American-era population, they were not alone for long. Earlier Spanish explorers had mapped parts of California, leaving a faint imprint before American control. Following the gold rush, people from Latin American countries, including Mexico and Chile, began to arrive. They brought their skills, often in mining and agriculture, and their vibrant cultural traditions. These communities established their own neighborhoods, adding unique flavors to the city's developing character. Their contributions were often in labor, helping to build the infrastructure and work the fields that were becoming so vital to the region's prosperity and growth. The African American community also played a role in Stockton's early development. Many came to California seeking freedom and opportunity, escaping the harsh realities of slavery and discrimination elsewhere in the United States. They established churches, which became centers of community life and social support. Some started businesses contributing to the local economy. Though facing significant prejudice, they persevered, building lives and institutions that enriched the city. Their presence added another important thread to the increasingly diverse fabric of Stockton, demonstrating resilience and a commitment to creating a better future for themselves and their families in this new Western land. Jewish immigrants, primarily from Europe, also found their way to Stockton during these formative years. Many were merchants and entrepreneurs. They opened shops and businesses, contributing significantly to the city's commercial growth. They established synagogues and community organizations, maintaining their religious and cultural heritage while integrating into the broader civic life. Their business acumen helped to stabilize and diversify Stockton's economy beyond its initial reliance on the transient gold trade. These early Jewish settlers were instrumental in building lasting commercial enterprises and fostering a sense of community solidarity that benefited the entire city, often providing essential goods and services. These various groups did not always live in perfect harmony. There were collaborations, certainly, as people from different backgrounds worked alongside each other in fields, workshops, and businesses. Neighbors sometimes helped neighbors regardless of their origin. However, there were also tensions and conflicts. Discrimination was a reality for many non-European groups. Competition for jobs and resources could lead to friction. Power was not evenly distributed, and this created underlying currents of unease. Yet this early mix of cultures, with all its complexities, began to define Stockton as a place of many peoples, a microcosm of the broader American experience unfolding in the West. In the early decades, from 1850 onwards, power in Stockton, both in business and politics, was largely held by the European American settlers. These were often the individuals who had arrived first, acquired land, and established the foundational businesses and civic institutions. They controlled the city council, the courts, and the major commercial enterprises. Their cultural norms and laws shaped the public sphere. This concentration of influence was typical of many frontier towns in the American West. It meant that the path to prosperity and political voice was often easier for those who shared this dominant background, setting a distinct initial power dynamic for the growing city. However, as Stockton grew and diversified, these power dynamics began to slowly shift. Though the process was gradual and often met with resistance, other communities started to carve out their own niches. For example, Chinese immigrants, though not explicitly listed earlier, but a significant presence in California, became vital in agriculture and building the railroads, forming their own resilient economic enclaves. Latin American communities, while often working in labor-intensive jobs, also established small businesses and mutual aid societies. Jewish merchants continued to be influential in specific commercial sectors. These developments represented a quiet but persistent challenge to the initial monolithic power structure. Access to political power and economic advancement remained a significant challenge for many minority groups. Discriminatory laws and social practices limited opportunities for African Americans, Asian immigrants, and often Latin Americans, and even some European immigrant groups. The Yokuts people, of course, were largely excluded from the new systems of power altogether. Their influence drastically diminished. These barriers meant that true equality was a distant dream. Gaining a voice in city governance or breaking into more lucrative sectors of the economy required immense effort and perseverance against systemic obstacles. These struggles were a constant feature of life for many in Stockton. Despite these challenges, the period leading up to 1950 saw the beginnings of a more complex interplay of influences. While established European American families often retained significant control, the growing numbers and economic contributions of other groups could not be entirely ignored. Community organizing, though perhaps informal at first, began to lay the groundwork for future advocacy. The daily interactions in workplaces, markets, and neighborhoods, even amidst prejudice, fostered a slow, evolving understanding, or at least a reluctant acknowledgement, of the city's multicultural reality. The stage was being set for more pronounced changes in the decades that would follow this initial century of growth. The first century of Stockton's existence, from 1850 to 1950, laid a complex foundation. The interactions, collaborations, and conflicts among its diverse peoples deeply shaped the city's character. The early dominance of European settlers in business and politics gradually faced the realities of a growing multicultural population. The agricultural richness, established early on, continued to be a mainstay of the economy. The legacy of displacement for the Yokuts people remained a somber undercurrent. This period forged a city accustomed to change, a place where different cultures coexisted, sometimes uneasily, but always dynamically, setting the scene for the future. Looking beyond 1950, the seeds planted in these earlier years would blossom in the work of figures like Cesar Chavez. Though his most impactful activism for farm workers' rights occurred later, his early life was spent in agricultural communities similar to those surrounding Stockton. The experiences of Latin American laborers, their struggles for fair wages and humane conditions, were rooted in the economic and social systems established in the preceding decades. Chavez's work would later bring international attention to the plight of these workers, many of whom were part of Stockton's diverse tapestry, fundamentally altering labor relations in California's agricultural heartland. Another figure whose impact would be felt significantly in later years, Alex Spanos, also had his beginnings in this evolving economic landscape. The son of Greek immigrants, Spanos started his journey in Stockton, building a small catering business from a lunch wagon. His story, one of entrepreneurial drive and eventual immense success in real estate development and professional sports, reflects another facet of the ambition that drew people to Stockton. While his major business empire grew largely after 1950, His roots in the city and his later philanthropic contributions show how individuals from diverse backgrounds could achieve prominence, influencing the city's growth and image on a larger scale. Ultimately, the Stockton we know today is a direct result of this century of mixed fortunes and mingled destinies. The early European Spanish, African American, Yakut, Jewish, and Latin American influences created a unique cultural blend. The power struggles, the economic ventures, and the everyday lives of these diverse groups all contributed to the city's identity. The challenges of prejudice and inequality were met with resilience and a slow, hard-won progress toward greater inclusion. This historical inheritance, a story of many people striving together and sometimes apart, continues to shape Stockton, a city forever marked by its rich and varied past. If you enjoyed this journey through Stockton's history, don't forget to subscribe, like, and join our channel Chopin_Game_209 for more stories and insights. Your support helps us bring more content like this to you. Subscribe and join our YouTube channel, Chopin_Game_209.